What if I told you her silence isn't rejection? It's a test, and most men fail without ever knowing it. She didn't disappear because you weren't good enough. She vanished because she never saw your strength. Until now, you don't win this game by chasing. You win by becoming the one thing she can't control. The man who never reacts, only responds. Have you ever found yourself staring at your phone, heart pounding, wondering why she just stopped replying? One moment, everything feels electric. She's laughing at your jokes, talking about future plans, giving you signs that this might actually go somewhere. And then, without warning, silence. No call, no explanation, just distance, just absence. And worst of all, doubt. Or maybe it's even more confusing. One day, she's all over you, texting non-stop, making you feel like you're the center of her world. Then the next, cold, detached, vanished. It's like emotional whiplash. And if you've been there, you know exactly how much it messes with your mind. You go from confident to questioning everything. Did I say something wrong? Did I? Come on, too strong. What changed? But let's be brutally honest for a second. This isn't some rare situation. This isn't bad luck. It's a game. And it's being played more often than you think. Modern dating has become a psychological battlefield. And if you don't understand the terrain, if you don't recognize the tactics being used against you, you will keep losing. Women, consciously or subconsciously, play these games not necessarily to hurt you, but to test you, to see if they can provoke you, to check if they can shake your emotional core, to find out, can I control how he feels? Can I make him chase? Can I make him doubt himself? And if the answer is yes, if you react, overtext, overthink, or overcompensate, the game is over. You've lost. Because in her eyes, emotional volatility equals weakness, and weakness doesn't spark desire. It suffocates it. But here's the good news, and it's the part that no one ever teaches you. You don't have to play the game at all. You can walk away from the loop entirely. You can stop being the guy who always wonders, what did I do wrong? And instead, you become the man who never plays on someone else's board. You become the one who sees the game for what it is and rises above it. How? Through Stoicism. Not the fake kind that pretends to be unbothered while boiling inside, but real Stoicism, the kind of grounded masculinity that can't be shaken by mood swings, breadcrumb texts, or attention-starved theatrics. The kind that allows you to remain calm, composed, and in control, no matter what kind of emotional storm she throws your way. Because this isn't just about relationships. It's not about getting the girl. It's about reclaiming your identity. It's about becoming the kind of man who leads his life, instead of reacting to hers. And once you learn that, once you fully embrace that mindset shift, everything changes. You no longer crave her replies. You no longer beg for her energy. You no longer collapse when she pulls away. Instead, you respond with presence, with peace, with power. So today, I'm not going to teach you how to manipulate. I'm not going to give you shallow pickup tricks. I'm going to show you how to build something deeper, unshakable, emotional self-control. I'm going to walk you through 10 bulletproof Stoic strategies that will help you outsmart any woman trying to play games with your heart, help you stay in your power no matter what she does, help you stop reacting and start leading. These aren't just techniques, they're tools for life, for becoming. A man who commands respect, not by force but by presence. A man who never needs to prove himself because he knows exactly who he is. So if you're tired of being ghosted, breadcrumbed, tested, or tossed into emotional limbo, if you're done playing a game where you never win, then stay with me, because once you master these 10 Stoic strategies, you won't just stop losing in love, you'll start winning in life. Strategy 1. Emotional detachment. The very first strategy, and without a doubt the most important one, is this: detach emotionally, not just from her, but from the emotional chaos she may create, from the highs that make you chase, from the lows that make you question your worth. Detachment isn't indifference, it's not cold-hearted, it's not pretending not to care, it's control, it's choosing to feel without being ruled by what you feel. It's knowing how to stay grounded, even when everything around you feels like it's pulling you off center. Because here's what most men get wrong. They confuse emotional reaction with emotional connection. So when a woman suddenly pulls away, becomes distant, or flips her energy overnight, most guys go into panic mode. They get anxious, they obsess, they start replaying every conversation. In their head, was it something I said? Why is she acting different? How can I fix this before I lose her? And just like that, they've already lost. Because she's watching, she's paying attention, and what she's testing isn't your charm. It's not your looks, it's your emotional stability. She wants to know, can I shake him? Can I make him chase? Can I get inside his mind without saying a word? And when you fold, when you break your own peace to go running after her, you fail the test. But you're about to become different. You're going to detach. That means whether she texts you every 5 minutes or ghosts you for 5 days, you stay exactly the same. Your emotional temperature doesn't spike with her attention, and it doesn't plummet with her silence. You remain still, not because you're playing a game, but because you've stopped letting someone else dictate your emotional weather. She flirts, she pulls back, she gets cold, she comes close. It doesn't matter. You remain composed. You don't flinch. You don't chase. You don't beg. Because you understand something most men never will. The one who controls his emotions controls the relationship. And here's the deeper truth. Women are not drawn to chaos. They may create it. They may dance with it. But they do not respect the man who loses himself inside of it. What they are drawn to is certainty, presence, unshakable strength, and nothing radiates more strength than a man who cannot be emotionally manipulated. Imagine it like this. You're the mountain, she's the weather. Some days she brings sunshine, full of affection, warmth, connection. Other days storms, mood swings, distance, tests. But the mountain never changes. The mountain doesn't move. That's you. And the more you show her this, the more you show her that her games, her tests, her pullbacks don't rattle you, the more magnetic you become. Because deep down, every woman is searching for safety. Not the kind of safety that chases her when she runs, but the kind that stands tall when she doubts. And that kind of man is rare. That man is respected. That man is remembered. So start now. When she pulls away, you don't chase. You breathe. When she ghosts you, you don't panic. You observe. When she tests your calm, you pass with silence. That's emotional detachment. That's masculine strength. And that is the foundation of everything that comes next. Strategy 2. Stay calm under pressure. Let's talk about one of the most overlooked and most misunderstood forms of strength a man can possess. Calmness. Not fake chill. Not masking your emotions while seething underneath. I mean true, grounded, immovable calm, the kind that can sit still in chaos, the kind that doesn't flinch when provoked, because when it comes to emotional mind games, nothing is more disarming, more powerful, or more attractive than a man who knows how to stay calm under pressure. Make no mistake, you will be tested. Sometimes it's subtle. A random mention of an ex, a flirtatious smile thrown at another guy, a sarcastic comment slipped into the conversation. Other times it's more obvious. Ghosting, baiting, passive-aggressive digs meant to see if you'll crack. She's not doing this because she's cruel. She's doing it consciously or subconsciously to see what you're made of. Can I shake him? Will he blow up? Get jealous? Compete for me? How much of his emotional state can I control? And most men, without even realizing it, take the bait. They get triggered, they lash out, they argue, they over-explain, or worse, they try to win her back with attention. But not you, because you're learning something deeper, something timeless. The calm man is the rarest kind of power. He's the storm center. He doesn't chase. He doesn't compete. He doesn't perform. He simply holds his ground, and that, ironically, makes the other person scramble to adjust. Let me give you a scenario you've probably experienced. You're having a normal conversation, and out of nowhere, she brings up her ex, not in a sad way, but in a way that feels like a dig. My ex used to take me to this incredible restaurant. Last summer with him was unforgettable. She's not reminiscing. She's poking, she's watching your face, your body language, waiting to see if you flinch. Most men would tense up. Some would snap back. I don't want to hear about him. Why are you even talking about your ex? But that's exactly the reaction she expects. She wants to see if she still has emotional pull. You, on the other hand, smile. You nod and calmly say, "Sounds like he was a good guy." That's it. No sarcasm, no resentment, just stillness. And suddenly, she doesn't know what to do with that, because you've become unpredictable. And unpredictability, not chaos, but calm unpredictability, is deeply magnetic. Here's another scenario. You're out with her in a group setting. Everyone's talking, laughing, and then she starts subtly flirting with another guy. She leans in a little too close, laughs a little too hard, touches his arm a bit too long. She knows you're watching. It's a test. Most guys would jump in to compete, or they'd shut down, filled with jealousy. Some might even start an argument later in the car, asking, "Why did you act like that?" But you stay still. You don't compete. You don't react. You don't withdraw. But you don't chase either. You simply watch. And because you don't give her the reaction she expected, now she's the one questioning her move. Why? Didn't he react? Is he not invested? Did I miscalculate? And that's when the dynamic flips. Not because you manipulated her, but because you refused to be manipulated. Your calmness unsettles her ego, and your restraint creates curiosity. It makes her look at you differently, like a man who is not emotionally available for her games. This isn't about being cold. This is about being so rooted in who you are that nothing she does can pull you off balance. And when you show that, truly show that, it speaks louder than any lecture, louder than any confrontation, because in a world where most men are emotionally fragile, easily triggered, and quick to defend themselves, the man who can remain calm is king. So next time you feel that urge to react, pause. Ask yourself, is this response coming from power or from fear? And if it's fear, fear of losing her, fear of not being good enough, fear of her approval slipping away, then say nothing, do nothing, just breathe. Observe, stay grounded, because nothing screams strength like a man who chooses composure over chaos. And that, my friend, is what makes you truly unforgettable. Strategy 3. Say no to emotional retaliation. Let's be real. When someone hurts you, especially in love, the most natural human impulse is to hit back. Get even. To let them feel the same sting they just delivered to your ego. You want them to hurt like you do. You want them to feel regret, to feel jealousy, to feel small. It's emotional war, and most men fall right into it. But here's the brutal truth. Retaliating emotionally is the fastest way to hand over all your power. Let me say that again. The moment you start reacting from hurt, from ego, from fear of losing control, you've already lost. Because now she's not just in your mind, she's running it. She's not just influencing your feelings, she's dictating your behavior. And that means one thing: you are no longer in charge. Let's break this down with examples we've all seen. She flirts with another guy in front of you, maybe at a bar, at a party, in a group. You feel the blood boil, your chest tightens. You want to say something, do something. So what do most guys do? They retaliate. They flirt with another girl right next to her. They make a show of laughing louder, acting more charming, trying to prove they're desirable too. Or worse, they get angry. They call her out, accuse her, confront her with jealousy in their voice and desperation in their eyes. And in that moment she wins, because what she was really looking for wasn't a new guy. It was your reaction. She wanted to see if she could make you break your calm, and you just proved she could. Or maybe she ghosts you out of nowhere. Days go by, no explanation, no response. Then suddenly she watches your story or likes a post. What do most guys do? They play the same game. They go silent too, just to make her wonder. They post thirst traps. They respond to her breadcrumb with breadcrumbs of their own. They try to win by mirroring her behavior. But this isn't winning. This is performing, reacting, dancing to her emotional rhythm. And a stoic man? He doesn't dance to anyone's rhythm, but his own. So what does real power look like in these moments? It looks like this. She ghosts you. You don't retaliate. You simply withdraw your attention. Fully, you redirect your focus to your goals, your health, your peace. She tries to provoke jealousy. You don't bite. You remain calm. You remain present. You don't need to prove anything, because your value doesn't fluctuate based on her behavior. Let's revisit that party scenario. You're out with a woman you've been dating, and she starts flirting, not innocently but deliberately, with another man in front of you. A weak man explodes. An insecure man tries to win her back by being louder, flashier, more dominant. But you simply observe. You let it happen. You offer no emotional reward for the performance. Later, if needed, you communicate calmly or you leave. Not out of spite, but out of principle. Because the man who cannot be emotionally rattled, that man becomes the mirror she can't look away from. He becomes the one she questions long after the moment ends. He becomes the one who didn't flinch, and that shakes her. Here's what makes this so powerful. When you refuse to retaliate emotionally, you strip the game of its power. You show her, without a single emotional outburst, that she has no influence over your state of being. And that's what makes you unshakable. She might continue playing games with other men, but she won't with you, because she knows they'll react, and you won't. She knows she can move them, but not you. And that difference? That's the gap between being desired and being respected. Here's the Stoic truth. Reacting from pain is weakness. Responding with stillness is strength. So next time you feel that burn, the jab to your ego, the silent treatment, the test, meant to stir emotion, Pause. Don't retaliate, don't compete, don't flinch, just breathe. And let her sit with your silence, because while she's waiting for a reaction, you're already moving forward, unbothered, unchased, unshakable. Strategy 4. Power of patience. Let me tell you something that most men, especially in today's fast-paced, swipe-right culture, don't want to hear. Patience is your most powerful weapon, not charm, not status, not muscles. Patience. Because when it comes to dealing with women who test you, ghost you, play hot and cold, or breadcrumb you just enough to keep you hooked, patience is what separates the men who react from the men who rise. Most guys can't handle the weight. They need answers now. They need clarity now. They need certainty right this second. But life, and especially modern dating, doesn't offer clarity on demand. And women, consciously or subconsciously, will test your ability to sit with uncertainty. Can he handle silence? Will he chase me if I disappear for a bit? What happens if I don't respond for a few hours or days? These are not just games. They're emotional audits. She's checking your stability, not your words, but your energy. And here's the truth. The man who practices patience becomes unforgettable. Why? Because he's rare. He's the one who doesn't flinch when she takes a step back. He's the one who doesn't double text, doesn't call twice, doesn't panic when the reply doesn't come instantly. He's not glued to his phone, waiting. Like a nervous teenager, he's busy, building, becoming, leading his life forward, with or without her. Let me paint a picture. She doesn't text back for 6 hours, then 10, then 24. Most guys, they start spiraling. They reread their last message 5 times. They send another one. Hey, just wondering if you got my last message? Everything okay? And just like that, the dynamic flips. She knows she's in control. But you do something radical, nothing. You don't send a follow-up. You don't pace around the room or stalk her Instagram story. You go to the gym. You read. You grind. You move. You allow space. Because here's the Stoic truth. A woman's silence is not a crisis. It's information. If she wants to come back, she will. And if she doesn't, you've just saved yourself time, energy, and self-respect. Either way, you win. Understand this. Patience isn't weakness. It's power in slow motion. Patience doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing what matters while letting what doesn't unfold on its own timeline. And it's not just about her texting back. It's about learning to delay gratification in all areas of life. When you don't need instant validation, you stop, settling for temporary flattery. When you don't rush a connection, you build real attraction rooted in value. When you don't chase clarity, you create strength through stillness. A Stoic man plays the long game. He's not concerned with being impressive in 48 hours. He's focused on becoming undeniable in 6 months, in 1 year, in a lifetime. He knows that empires are built slowly, and so are legacies. So next time she cancels plans at the last minute or disappears for a few days or gives vague answers that stir your anxiety, don't react, don't chase, don't press, just pause, breathe, stay focused. Let her reveal herself in her time, and when she comes back, and she will, she'll notice something terrifyingly attractive. You weren't waiting. You weren't orbiting. You weren't available on command. You were living, and that makes you different. It makes you dangerous. Not because you play games, but because you don't play at all. So remember this. Patience doesn't mean being passive. It means knowing when to act and when to not act. It means letting go of your addiction to control. It means having faith in your process, your path, your power. Because while every other man is scrambling for attention and instant gratification, you're grounded in your purpose, you're steady in your progress, you're still and stillness is strength. Patience is not about waiting for her. It's about becoming the kind of man who doesn't need to rush, because he knows exactly where he's going, and that, my friend, is how you stop chasing and start attracting. Strategy 5. Understand her behavior patterns. There's a truth most men overlook in dating, and once you internalize it, it changes everything. Women are creatures of patterns, not puzzles. They may seem unpredictable on the surface, texting non-stop one day, disappearing the next. But trust me, once you slow down, detach emotionally, and pay attention, you'll start to notice the repeating rhythms. And these rhythms are gold, because patterns reveal intent. And once you learn to recognize the intent behind her behavior, you no longer play the game, you see the game. And when the game becomes predictable, it becomes beatable. Let's break this down. The hot and cold loop. One day, she's lighting up your phone, sweet compliments, future plans, maybe even hinting about where this is headed. You feel the spark. You think this could be something real. Then suddenly a silence. She's busy, distant, emotionally unplugged. No reply, no explanation. Just energy pulled back so sharply it leaves you dizzy. That's called the push-pull strategy. And it's not an accident. Even when it's subconscious, she's testing. She wants to know, will he chase if I pull away? Is his emotional stability tied to my attention? Most guys panic in this moment. They assume something's wrong with them. So they reach out more, ask if everything's okay, double text, try to fix it. But that's the trap, because when you chase after she pulls back, you validate the strategy. You prove that your calm was conditional, that your interest is desperate. And just like that, she has you. How you respond, but not you. You've trained for this, you're centered. So when she goes cold, you don't flinch. You don't beg for attention. You don't send paragraphs. You don't spiral. You stay calm. You stay composed. And most importantly, you stay still. And this, ironically, flips the entire dynamic, because suddenly, she's the one wondering, why isn't he chasing? Did I lose him? Did that strategy fail? Whether she meant to test you or not doesn't matter. The result is the same. She sees your strength, and strength always shifts the power dynamic. The breadcrumb trap. Now let's talk about another common pattern, breadcrumbing. This is when a woman gives you just enough attention to keep you emotionally engaged, but never follows through with anything real. Maybe it's a flirty text here and there, or vague plans. We should hang out sometime. But sometime never becomes this Friday, never becomes a real effort. She keeps you close, but never commits. It's emotional bait, and it works on men who are too focused on potential instead of patterns. How you handle it. So how do you respond? You don't chase harder. You don't get bitter. You don't send guilt-tripping messages. You call it out without heat. Hey, I'm not here for half effort. If you're not genuinely interested in spending time together, that's totally fine. But I'm not waiting around. No neediness, no sarcasm, just quiet confidence with strong standards. And that right there is what sets you apart. Because most men are afraid to draw that line. They're afraid to lose access, even if that access leads nowhere. But you understand that access without respect is a trap, and you don't settle for crumbs when you bring the whole table. Final truth, not every pattern is malicious. Some women breadcrumb because they're unsure. Some run hot and cold because they're emotionally inconsistent. But your response should always be the same: calm observation, pulse clear boundaries. You're not judging her. You're just deciding that your time, energy, and focus are too valuable to be toyed with. Because once you start recognizing behavioral patterns, you stop falling for emotional surprises. You don't guess, you don't assume, you see it coming. And when you see it coming, you're already in control. That's the beauty of Stoicism. It doesn't just make you stronger, it makes you smarter, more aware, more precise. You don't chase, you don't react, you simply watch and act. Only when it's worth it, and that, my friend, is how you stop being a pawn and start playing like a king. Strategy 6. Set boundaries early. Let's get one thing absolutely clear. If you don't set boundaries early, someone else will set them for you. And when they do, it usually won't be in your favor. Boundaries aren't about building walls or controlling another person. They're about declaring without apology the standard of respect you hold for yourself. They're the invisible lines that say, "This is how I expect to be treated." And if that's too much, you're free to go. Without boundaries, you're not leading a relationship, you're following someone else's emotional lead. You're surrendering power before the game even begins. Here's the harsh truth most men ignore. If you don't set boundaries in the beginning, you're silently telling her that it's okay to test your limits, cross your lines, and push you until you break. And once you give that permission, even unconsciously, it becomes very hard to take back. So why don't most men speak up? Because deep down, they're afraid. They're scared that setting a boundary will make them seem too intense, too rigid, or too demanding. They worry that she'll walk away. But the reality is this: women crave boundaries because boundaries signal self-respect. And a man who respects himself is a man who others feel compelled to respect. When you speak your standards clearly and calmly, you don't scare her off. You separate yourself from every other man who stays quiet to avoid rocking the boat. Let's say she constantly cancels plans last minute. Most guys would brush it off or internalize the frustration, hoping she'll change. But that's not leadership. That's submission disguised as patience. You're different. You're going to calmly say something like, "I've noticed you've been canceling plans a lot lately. I value consistency and effort. If you're not interested in making time, that's okay. But I'm not okay with this back and forth." Notice there's no anger, no accusation, and no emotional reactivity, just calm clarity. Now here's where it gets powerful. When you speak from that place of calm, self-respecting honesty, she has two choices. She either steps up or she steps out. And either way, you win. Because you've just protected your time, energy, and mental peace. Let's take a more emotionally charged example. You're dating a woman who, intentionally or not, starts flirting with other guys in front of you. Most men either explode with jealousy or sit there quietly stewing, unsure how to handle it. You don't do either. You don't make a scene. You don't compete. Later, in private, you calmly say, "I'm not into games. If you're interested in other guys, that's your choice. But I'm not going to stay involved in something like that." Again, no anger, no insecurity, no emotional revenge. Just a firm reminder of your worth. This is how powerful men move. Not through force, not through control, but through clarity. And that clarity, it acts as a filter. It doesn't just repel the wrong kind of woman. It attracts the right kind. The one who respects strength. The one who values presence over performance. Boundaries aren't ultimatums, they're revelations. They reveal who's really willing to meet you at your level and who isn't. So what happens if she doesn't respect the boundary? You walk away, not to punish her, not to manipulate her, but to protect yourself. Because at the end of the day, you're not negotiating your peace. You're not putting your self-worth up for debate. You're not asking to be treated with respect. You're requiring it by how you respond. If she crosses the line, you don't get loud. You get distant. That silence will speak louder than anything you could ever say. When you set boundaries early, you don't just define the relationship, you define yourself. You say, without needing to raise your voice, this is the standard, and anything less is not welcome here. That is leadership, that is power, and that is how you earn her respect, or walk away with yours fully intact. Strategy 7. Mastering the art of communication. If there's one skill that separates men who lead from men who chase, it's this: the ability to communicate clearly and firmly without emotional volatility. Most people talk a lot, but they don't actually communicate. They argue, they deflect, they avoid, they let resentment build up until it explodes in anger or disappears in silence. And when it comes to relationships, especially those filled with emotional games, that's a recipe for chaos. Here's the truth. Communication isn't just how you express yourself. It's how you set the tone for how you'll be treated. And if you don't learn to express your standards, your needs, and your boundaries with calm clarity, you'll either be misunderstood or dismissed entirely. Now, most men fall into two extremes. They either avoid difficult conversations altogether. They hold it in, hoping things will magically get better. But silence isn't strength when it comes from fear. It's avoidance, and it breeds confusion, not clarity. Or 2. They let their emotions take over. They explode, they accuse, they raise their voice, they try to force respect through volume. But a Stoic man does neither. He doesn't suppress, and he doesn't lash out. He speaks calmly, clearly, and with quiet certainty. Let's say the woman you're seeing starts acting distant. Her messages become colder, her enthusiasm fades. Plans become vague or keep falling through. Most men in that situation either blow up, "What's your problem? Why are you being like this?" Or they pretend it's not happening and suffer in silence. But you're not most men. You don't ignore reality, and you don't react to it. You respond. You say something like, "Hey, I've noticed your energy's been different lately. I'm not sure if something's going on, but I'd rather talk about it directly instead of guessing." You're not accusing. You're not begging. You're not trying to force her to explain herself. You're simply naming the shift you're seeing and giving her a chance to either step up or step away. That one move alone puts you in a different category from nearly every man she's ever met, because you're not operating from fear. You're not driven by insecurity. You're coming from a place of calm confidence, and that's magnetic. This kind of communication disarms her. It resets the emotional field, because you're not acting out of need. You're acting out of clarity. Now here's something most men don't realize. The way you speak teaches people how to treat you. Every time you stay silent when something bothers you, you teach her that your needs can be ignored. Every time you explode in emotion, you teach her that you're unstable under pressure. But every time you speak with honesty and stillness, you teach her that you're a man who leads himself and who refuses to live in confusion. That kind of communication builds trust. It creates safety. It establishes respect. It says, "I'm not afraid of the truth. I'm not here to argue. I'm here to be understood and to understand." Let's look at another example. Maybe she flirts with other guys in front of you. Maybe she disappears for a few days with no explanation, then returns like nothing happened. Instead of ignoring it or trying to match her energy, you hold your ground. You say, I don't do well with inconsistency. If there's something going on, I'd rather be honest about it than play guessing games. That's not controlling. That's not emotional. That's leadership. Because here's the core of all great communication. It's not about controlling the outcome. It's about controlling your message. You don't speak to get a reaction. You speak to express truth and invite clarity. Whether she can meet you there or not, that's on her. And if she can't, you walk, knowing you gave her a chance to rise and knowing you didn't lose your dignity in the process. When you communicate like this, you do more than protect your energy. You build a dynamic rooted in honesty instead of manipulation. No games, no confusion, no hidden agendas, just clear truth spoken calmly. And that's what commands deep respect, because the man who isn't afraid to speak his truth and isn't desperate for anyone else's approval, that's the man who cannot be moved. Strategy 8. Focus on long-term goals. Let's talk about one of the most dangerous traps men fall into, one that silently kills their momentum, ambition, and peace, losing themselves in the pursuit of her attention. Most men don't fall apart because they're not good enough. They fall apart because they abandon their long-term path for the sake of short-term validation. They trade purpose for a text. They trade focus for a reaction. They trade their empire for a chance to feel chosen for one more day. And the worst part? They don't even realize it's happening until they're emotionally tangled in a dynamic that offers zero clarity and even less consistency. Here's what Stoicism teaches, and what every high-value man must eventually learn. Your power comes from playing the long game. It comes from building something so meaningful, so massive, so mission-driven, that no emotional test, no temporary cold shoulder, and no delayed reply can pull you off your course. Because when your eyes are locked on legacy, you don't get distracted by games. Imagine this: you're working on your business, you're locked into your fitness, you're mastering your craft, leveling up, getting stronger in silence, and then the woman you've been dating for a few weeks starts pulling back. She texts less. She becomes vague about plans. The energy shifts. What do most guys do? They panic. They start overthinking. They replay every message in their head, trying to locate what they did wrong. They chase harder. They make themselves overly available. They try to fix the situation, all because they fear losing her attention. But here's what a man who's focused on long-term goals understands. You don't fix what was never yours to control. You just keep building. You don't flinch because you've trained your mind to remain loyal to your mission, not to moods. You understand that a woman's behavior may fluctuate, but your purpose cannot. And that mindset does two very powerful things. First, it makes you emotionally independent. You stop needing her attention to feel significant. You stop letting her communication, or lack of it, define your mood for the day. You stop putting your self-worth in someone else's hands, because now your validation doesn't come from her. It comes from your results, your routine, your growth. You look in the mirror and feel confident, not because someone replied to you, but because you're seeing a man who shows up for himself daily. Second, this mindset makes you infinitely more attractive. Why? Because a man with purpose is magnetic, he's rare. He stands out in a world full of men who are emotionally available for every signal, every test, every flake. He doesn't wait around for someone to choose him. He's already chosen himself. And that kind of energy is undeniable. So, the next time a woman you're seeing starts acting distant, ask yourself this: what am I building right now that matters more than this moment? If the answer is nothing, you'll chase, you'll fold, you'll spiral. But if the answer is my mission, my body, my discipline, my goals, then you'll pause and keep moving forward. And here's what happens when you stay focused. She notices, she starts wondering why you're not chasing like the last guy, why you're not folding, why you're not asking for reassurance, why you're not emotionally available for her games. Because in a world full of men who wait by the phone, you've become the man who's building too much to be distracted. And whether she chooses to be part of that journey or not, you're good. Because your identity doesn't come from being desired. It comes from being disciplined. And that, above anything else, makes you untouchable. Strategy 9. Prioritizing yourself. When the day ends, when the lights dim and the noise fades, there's only one person you have to face in the mirror, and that's you. Not her, not anyone else. Just you. And yet so many men forget this, especially when they're entangled in emotional chaos, trying to decode mixed signals, sacrificing their inner peace for someone who isn't even sure about them. They bend, twist, and contort themselves in hopes of being enough, all while slowly unraveling the one thing they can't afford to lose: their self-respect. Let me say this with complete clarity. No woman, no relationship, no fleeting moment of affection is worth trading in your mental clarity, your emotional balance, or your sense of self. Because the truth is, if you're walking through your days in a constant state of tension, second-guessing yourself, wondering if you're doing too much or not enough, then you're not in a relationship. You're in a psychological battle. And the longer you stay in that battlefield, the more of yourself you lose. This doesn't mean you become selfish. It doesn't mean you shut down or stop caring. What it means is balance. It means placing yourself, your well-being, your peace of mind back in the center of your life where it belongs. When you start prioritizing yourself, when you draw that invisible line in the sand and say, "My peace is not negotiable," something incredible happens. You stop chasing. You stop begging for breadcrumbs of affection. You start walking differently, straighter, stronger, calmer, and women notice. Confidence isn't loud. It's not about puffing your chest or shouting your worth. It's quiet. It's steady. It's the man who knows what he brings to the table and refuses to let someone flip it over. Let's get real. Imagine you're dating someone who's emotionally inconsistent. One day she's deeply connected, the next she's pulling away without explanation. You start overanalyzing every message, editing yourself to avoid upsetting her, trying to fix what was never yours to fix. That's not romance, that's self-erasure. Before long, your energy shifts. You skip the gym, you ghost your friends, you lose focus at work. And all for what? For someone who isn't even consistent with their own emotions, that's when it's time to stop, time to pause and ask yourself a brutally honest question. How is this affecting my peace, my focus, my joy? If the answer makes you flinch, then it's time to withdraw. Not in anger, not to punish, but to protect. Redirect your energy into things that fuel your soul. Pick up those weights. Grind on your business. Spend time with people who speak life into you. Reconnect with yourself. Not the broken version who needed approval, but the whole version who thrives without it. And here's the twist. The moment you stop orbiting her moods, two outcomes become possible. Either she sees your strength, respects your boundaries and steps up, or she walks away because she can no longer control the dynamic. And either way, brother, you win, because you've chosen self-respect over emotional roulette. You've shown that you're not afraid to lose someone who isn't aligned with your peace. The modern world tells men to be soft-spoken, agreeable, endlessly accommodating. But what it often forgets to teach is this: boundaries are attractive. Stillness is magnetic. A man who guards his peace is a man who commands respect, not because he demands it, but because he embodies it. So the next time your spirit feels uneasy, your thoughts clouded by someone else's volatility, ask yourself, is this cost worth it? And if the answer is no, step back, realign, reclaim your center. Because the most dangerous thing a man can do isn't losing a woman. It's losing himself, trying to keep one who was never worthy of him in the first place. Prioritize yourself. Not because it's trendy, but because it's survival, it's strength, it's stoic. And in that choice, you'll find your real power. Strategy 10, know when to walk away. Now this is where the game changes, not just in relationships, but in life itself. There's an old saying that carries more weight than most. People realize the most powerful position you can hold is the one where you're willing to walk away and actually mean it. Let that sink in. If you remember nothing else from this entire video, take this with you. Knowing when to walk away isn't just a tactic, it's a declaration. It's the ultimate power move, the quiet storm, the ace in your back pocket that few have the courage to play. But when you do, you shift the balance instantly. You reclaim your power without saying a word. Let's be brutally honest. Not every woman deserves your energy. Some women will play games, breadcrumb you with mixed signals, or keep you dangling on a string while they explore other options. If she's treating you like a backup plan, canceling last minute, or flirting with other guys right in front of you, it's not your job to convince her of your worth. That's not a challenge to rise to. It's a situation to walk away from. And not with fireworks or tantrums, not with some petty, you'll miss me speech. No, you do it with stillness, with calm, unwavering confidence. You walk, head high, heart steady, no turning back, because here's the truth. When you walk away without fear, without bitterness, and without needing her validation, you become the one in control. You're telling her, without even needing to explain, I choose myself. You're showing her, and more importantly yourself, that your self-respect outweighs any approval she could ever offer. That you have options, that your identity isn't anchored to her attention, that you're grounded in your worth. And here's the twist. Often it's at that exact moment, when she sees you're not chasing, not begging, not checking her story at 2 a.m., that she starts chasing you. Why? Because self-respect is magnetic. Because confidence, real confidence, not bravado, speaks louder than words. But let's be clear, this isn't about manipulation. This isn't some mind game to make her come crawling back. This is about a line in the sand. It's about saying, I'm no longer playing this game. You can either step up or step out, but I'm done losing myself in the process. If she's inconsistent, flaky, or disrespectful, you don't retaliate with anger. You simply say, look, I'm not interested in being part of this roller coaster. If you're serious, let me know. If not, I'm moving forward. No drama, no resentment, just calm, collected strength. And then you disappear. No follow-up texts, no lurking on her socials, no waiting around for a response that may never come. You shift your focus inward on your growth, your goals, your purpose. You reclaim your emotional energy and invest it where it matters, in yourself. Here's the hard truth, though. Sometimes walking away means walking away for good. Sometimes she won't chase you, she won't come back. And that's not a loss, that's the win. Because you didn't lose your dignity trying to hold on to someone who couldn't see your value. You walked out with your peace intact, your head held high and your heart protected. That's power most men never tap into. Why? Because they're terrified. Terrified of being alone, terrified of not being wanted. But when you walk away, you're saying, I'm not afraid. I know who I am, and I will not settle for anything less than respect. And that kind of energy, it's rare, it's magnetic, and it's freeing. Because when you take your power back, when you stop letting someone else dictate your joy or your self-worth, you become unstoppable. You stop reacting, you start leading. And that, my brother, is what true strength looks like. So there it is. 10 powerful, life-changing strategies to rise above the games and reclaim your place as a man in control of his emotions, his time, and his destiny. These aren't just dating principles, they're life principles. Tools to help you become emotionally untouchable, mentally focused, and deeply grounded. And here's the best part, this is only the beginning. Keep refining these habits. Keep showing up for yourself. Keep walking the path of growth, discipline, and truth. Because when you do, the right people will stop playing games and start respecting the man you've become. If this resonated with you, if you felt even a spark of clarity or power from this, consider subscribing or joining the channel. Help us grow a community of men who refuse to be manipulated, who choose strength, who choose peace, who choose themselves, because the world needs more men who know when to walk away and aren't afraid to do it. Final reflection, and now, brother, take a breath, not just to mark the end of this video, but to mark the beginning of something greater, something quieter, something unshakable. You've just walked through 10 timeless principles, not merely about women, not merely about dating, but about the art of becoming. The becoming of a man whose soul cannot be stolen by silence, whose worth cannot be shaken by withdrawal, whose peace is no longer held hostage by games. You see, life, like love, will test you. It will whisper doubts into your ear, pull people from your arms without warning, and send you wandering through silence, aching for clarity. But the Stoic man does not beg for the storm to stop. He becomes the mountain beneath it. He does not demand the world change for him. He changes himself until nothing outside of him holds power over what lives within him. This isn't about indifference. It's about serenity. It's about the kind of peace forged in fire, not the kind handed to you when life is kind, but the kind you carry even when the world turns cold. And when she pulls away, when the attention fades, the texts stop, the warmth turns to ice, you will not chase, you will not collapse into questions, you will simply return to yourself, to your breath, to your path, to your purpose, and there in the stillness you will remember, your value was never hers to decide. You were not made to orbit anyone's affection, you were made to lead, to walk forward even when no one follows, to stand still when everything tempts you to chase. This is your power, not in controlling others, but in mastering your response to what you cannot control. So the next time the silence comes, do not see it as rejection. See it as a mirror, one that reveals not her absence but your presence. You are not here to impress, you are here to embody, to carry your peace like armor, to speak with truth Walk with clarity and love when love is earned, not through desperation, but through discernment. You are no longer the man who gets swept away by tides he can't explain. You are the shore, the grounded, the enduring, and whether she stays or goes, you remain. So walk on, brother, not with bitterness, not with ego, but with a quiet reverence for the strength you now carry. And remember, the Stoic man is not the man who feels nothing. He is the man who feels everything and remains unmoved. Because in the end, it's not about getting her back. It's about never losing yourself again.